The APA has declared traditional masculinity is harmful to boys and men. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today we have a story reporting about how the American Psychological Association has issued new guidelines, and this is something they do every once in a while, redefining what mental illness means, new standards, I guess. It's supposed to be according to new research, but sometimes it's politically driven, as we see here. The report claims that the more masculine the man, the more likely he will engage in risky behaviors. Now, I just want to bring up this point right now, and this is obvious to anyone who knows even a little bit about biology, evolution. Men who engage in risky behaviors are far more likely to obtain rewards. A lot of different studies that I've read have shown on completely different subjects that if you engage in risk-seeking behavior, you get more rewards because the only way to win the game is to play. That's how it works in life. If you're very masculine and you have a lot of testosterone, you're going to seek more risk, and more risk means more reward. That's why manly men and such succeed in the business world. Because if you take risks in the business world, yes, you could face a loss, but you could also win much more than you bet. It's one of the fundamentals of business. You have to be willing to take those risks. Let's take a look at the article. The American Psychological Association has issued new professional guidelines for mental health professionals that claim traditional masculinity is harmful to boys and men. The guidelines for psychological practice with boys and men is based on 40 years of research, according to APA's website. The main thrust of the subsequent research is that traditional masculinity, marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, is on the whole harmful, according to the APA. It is also alleged that the more men conformed to masculine norms, the more likely they were to consider as normal risky health behaviors such as heavy drinking, using tobaccos, and avoiding vegetables as to engage in these risky behaviors themselves. Okay, so apparently the more masculine you are, the more you enjoy things, enjoy a little bit of drink, enjoy tobacco, and eat red meat instead of vegetables. Oh, risky behavior. It's bad. I mean, really, nobody talks about all the sweets that women eat, always shoving muffins down their face. And, there's actually evolutionary reasons. Women, they have to bear the children. And in the past, food was scarce. So when they found something sweet, they had to chomp on it to build up a little bit of fat so they could support a child. That is the reason that women seem to overwhelmingly like sweets and junk food. Just a fun little fact. It's just a part of nature. As for alcohol and tobacco and avoiding vegetables, I don't agree with avoiding your vegetables because vegetables not only provide nutrition, but some are rather tasty when cooked correctly. Drinking, yes. Dopamine. They seek dopamine. They need to achieve things. When you achieve a task or you achieve a goal, your brain releases dopamine and reward chemicals, which reward you for doing things, for accomplishing things. So it's no wonder that drinking would be popular among men. Anyone really, because dopamine's just all around reward chemical. So the APA protocol comes 12 years after the APA released its psychological guidelines for working with girls and women in 2007. What else did the guidelines say? Boys are traditionally socialized to suppress their emotions, which causes damage that echoes both inwardly and outwardly, according to the release. And in my experience, which is probably not what they're going to mention, is it's men and women who encourage this. It's not just men who say, oh, you have to be manly, you can't feel emotions. It's women too, because they look down on men who are emotional. I know a lot of girls will say, I like a sensitive fellow, but when they actually encounter sensitive fellows, people who are in touch with their emotions, people who just are normal, actually, not even going out there, they don't like it. Doesn't turn them on. It's not what they want. Again, it's evolution. Women seek strength. Men should aim to be strong. Literally nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's how we work, and the stronger a man feels, the healthier he's gonna be. All this horrible crap comes from society kicking men down, telling them that there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with their behavior. Toxic masculinity. That they're oppressing women. That men are the enemy. That's why men are so messed up these days. And that's what's not being addressed. Ryan McDermott, a psychologist at the University of South Alabama, who helped draft the men's guidelines, said clinicians can use the guidelines to encourage men to discard the harmful ideologies of traditional masculinity, violence, and sexism, and find flexibility in potentially positive aspects, courage, and leadership. And you see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Traditional masculinity that they're claiming involves violence and sexism. How is that not degrading to men? How is that not putting down men? And first of all, what's wrong with violence? You think you can defend a nation without violence? You think you can resolve all disputes without protecting yourself, without fighting back? You know, you have all these hippies and all these hipsters who talk about how, oh, mankind should strive for peace. There should be no wars. Do you know what happens when there's no wars? Someone else who is willing to war is going to come with their army and take all your stuff, kill all your children, and take your women. Literally what happens in nature. You have chimp groups. They live in the jungle. There's a neighboring chimp group. You know what they'll do? They'll launch raids. They'll attack. They'll kill them. They'll literally eat them for protein. They'll eat the other chimps alive. Usually they kill them first. And they'll take their resources, they'll take their women. This is how it works. Strength is necessary, because if you're not strong, you lose your stuff, because someone else is going to come who's stronger and take it from you. And sexism is not traditional masculinity. That's exactly what I'm fucking talking about. Men are so screwed up these days because society, Western society, and feminism is trying to feminize men, trying to destroy them, telling them that they're shit, they don't matter, they're horrible people, they're criminals, they all belong in jail, and that in order for women to succeed, men must fail. I don't agree with any of this because it's all bullshit and it's highly toxic, and that's the real issue, and that's what the American Psychological Association, the APA, is never going to admit. It went on to say that the tough demeanor may be beneficial in some cases, such as a soldier in a war zone, where the same traits can destroy relationships at home. There are times when you need to be able to power through, McDermott said in a release. But if you only do that and you believe that if you don't do that, then you're somehow less worthy of a person, that's where you have a problem. That was a terrible sentence. What did it say about gender views? The report also pointed out that gender views have changed and that transgender issues are at the forefront of the cultural conversation, and there is an increased awareness of diversity of gender identity. It's no longer just a male-female binary, McDermott said. Transgender and LGBTQ students often face harassment from their peers and family, which may lead to a depression and other harmful behaviors. So, you know, there's actually been an increase in depression in males and men, largely because society has decided that they hate men and, screw them. Men don't need programs, they don't need affirmative action, they don't need any help. Let's give it all to women. Screw the men. They're falling behind in school, they're being underemployed, they're getting screwed over, but who cares? So according to this guy, boys and men who identify as gay, bisexual, or transgender still face higher than average levels of hostility and pressure to conform to masculine norms, according to McDermott and Christopher Lang, a psychologist at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. Or it might be Lehigh, I don't know. They got all these weird names, who also worked on the guidelines. So what about race? The researchers said that black men and boys are viewed more harshly by law enforcement, schools, and others compared to white men and boys. Okay, so you can already tell where this is coming from. It's obviously from a liberal institution, and they're biased. Might be on the far left, actually, because a lot of what they're saying is pretty regressive. They're basically just calling masculinity toxic. I mean, that's what it is. There's a war on men. It's part of this cultural Marxism that's infected universities, and it's destroying the modern world, because now men aren't men and women aren't women, and women don't want beta males. They don't want weaklings. It's not going to turn them on. It's not going to be satisfying. That's nature. It's evolution. It's completely how we work. And the main narrative here is that men should be more like women. Women are actually more risk averse. They like to avoid risk. It's the way they evolved. As a woman, you have to avoid risk. You're not as strong, so you can't just fight bears in the forest. You can't just fight things. And you have to bear children, so you have to be more selective about acquiring resources, and you have to be more risk averse. For men, it's the complete opposite. You're better off if you seek the most resources and you take risks to get those resources. So they're basically saying that femininity is good, but masculinity is bad. That's not equality. It's not egalitarianism, and it's not right. So the story leaves off with this. McDermott said there's little difference between the expectations for men and women. About a third of the traits that people consider to be positive aspects of masculinity, such as sacrificing for others and having strong morals, are actually expected more from women than men when researchers asked both men and women about the trait in isolation from wider gender cues. McDermott said, "So which is it exactly? First, you're saying there's too many expectations for men about masculinity. Now you're actually saying there's not a big difference between the expectations between men and women. These people have a problem. I really fail to understand some of the logic here. Most likely because it is illogical, and like I said, it's just propaganda. I'm gonna say right now, there's nothing wrong with traditional masculinity. There's nothing wrong with masculinity. These people just hate men. They just hate what men are. They hate evolution. They want to deny science. But I'm gonna tell you right now, folks, masculinity and traditional masculinity is not harmful to men and is not a mental disorder. There are certainly things that can be harmful. Some people really take the whole you have to be a man shit too far. That's completely true. But what they're saying isn't. But that's merely the obvious. That's all for today, folks. Let me know what you think about this story. What do you think about the APA? Are they right? Are they wrong? I just don't see it. I disagree with it completely, and I think it's propaganda. But who knows? Maybe there's some finer points to all this. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.